Hello, everybody. I see some people starting to trickle in. We'll get everyone a minute to get settled. But first of all, hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining today. My name is Alexis Anderson. I'm very excited to be talking about middle school scholarship opportunities. This is a subject that I'm really passionate about. I work really closely with. I really appreciate you guys taking the time out of your evening to come and learn something. I think it's awesome that you're starting this early. I wish I had. Um, yeah, let's get into it. So, a little bit about me. I am the Senior Administrator of Scholarships for both the National Society of High School Scholars and the Young Scholars Department. So, I work really closely with scholarship programs through the entire life cycle. I work with winners, I work with applications, I work with universities, financial aid departments. I'm also a scholarship recipient myself. So I've seen a lot from both sides of the spectrum. So I understand how stressful this can be and how many questions there are, um, and how impactful it is when it's successful. So hopefully I can provide some peace of mind and some insights today. We are going to have time at the end to answer some questions. So if you have anything that comes up during the session, feel free to drop it in the Q&A and we'll get to as many as we can at the end. So today we're gonna start with scholarships 101. So all the basics that you need to know about scholarships, some common misconceptions, things that I hear from students, from parents, even from educators sometimes that are confusing. Sometimes there's conflicting information out there, so we'll go ahead and clear some of that up now. Then we're gonna talk about why middle school matters so much in this process. How you can avoid scams, which is really important, especially right now, how parents can support their students. We'll talk about exploration and self-discovery and how to find your interests and tie that into your applications. And then we'll walk through some Young Scholars opportunities, some of the specific things that we're doing that are really cool, that are open now. And like I said, then we'll have a Q&A towards the end. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. All right, so the first myth that I hear all the time from students and parents is that, well, I'm not a senior, so I shouldn't apply for anything. And that could not be further from the truth. It's probably the biggest misconception that I hear. In fact, if you wait until your senior year to start applying for things, you're actually going to be playing catch up instead of you could have been preparing this entire time. It's really never too early to start applying for scholarships. There might be fewer opportunities the younger that you are, but they are out there. Um, the earlier that you start, the better you get at it. I try to tell students, especially our young scholars and those in their freshman and sophomore year, to stop thinking about scholarship opportunities as if I don't win the money, I wasn't successful. Because I think there's much to say about what you learn in the process of applying and getting comfortable with the application process as a whole. These are skills that you are going to need to have throughout the course of your life, your academic journey. And if you can start getting comfortable with it in middle school, you will be that much further ahead. And then by the time you are a senior, you'll be a pro. The second one is that scholarships are exclusively to pay for college. I know that when we think about scholarships, we think money for tuition, and understandably so, but in reality, there are a lot of scholarships that pay for a lot of other things that can help you get into college, like summer camps, summer programs, academic competitions, even testing. Some of those tests can get really expensive. There are scholarships that will provide assistance for those. Athletics, excuse me, the arts, all kinds of things. So don't limit yourself to just thinking about, I'm starting my college fund right now, because that may be true, but there's also a lot of other things that you can start looking into as well. And the third one is that scholarships are only for straight A student. And this one makes me sad because it's the thing that prevents a lot of students from even applying for these opportunities. But again, that's not always the case. Scholarships aren't just about grades. They are about creativity and leadership and problem-solving skills and who you are as a person. So you don't have to have perfect grades to apply for a scholarship. Your transcript is not the most important thing all of the time. More than anything, a lot of the time it's how you frame your experiences and how you're choosing to grow. Um, Straight A's doesn't hurt, but it's not the end all be all of whether or not you're selected for a scholarship opportunity. So overall, There is a scholarship out there for everyone, and you should not let your misconceptions stand in your way. So the facts are that you can start right now, and especially actually being in middle school is the perfect time to start applying for things. This is the time period where you're learning what you're interested in, you're building your experiences, and even by being here on this webinar, you're one step ahead. Congratulations. Um, and like I said, once you start getting comfortable with the application process, there's really nothing you can't do. Um, Scholarships exist for all kinds of interests. You're going to be investing in your future by looking for opportunities beyond just building your college fund, right? So, let's say that you really love robotics and there's this really cool robotics competition, but it's really far away and you don't want to ask your parents to pay for it. There are scholarships that fund exactly that. And so on and so forth for all kinds of activities and interests and things of that nature. But look for them. I swear there is so much scholarship money that just does not get claimed every year and goes to waste because nobody's applying for it, which is just silly. Um, and scholarships aren't always based on merit, like we said. A helpful way to think about it is that scholarships aren't just rewarding what you have done. They're rewarding what you are capable of doing based on your merit and who you are as a human being. So all of those things are important. And in my opinion, the second piece being even more important. So keep that in mind as well. But while we are searching for scholarships, unfortunately, we are in an era of cyber criminals and scams, and scammers are smart. Everybody wants free money. Scholarship opportunities is actually a perfect place to prey on people. Um, so it's really important to stay vigilant more than ever. So just some pointers. A real opportunity is going to have a professional looking website. It's going to have clear contact information. So if there's nobody on the website that you can directly communicate with, you can get in touch with a human. You can ask questions, you can call, there's a physical address. Those are some green flags. Also, every scholarship program is going to have specific eligibility rules, things that they're looking for, deadlines. If a program seems to be just kind of completely open-ended with no requirements, that's a little dicey. Every program that I know, some of them are, rolling, they're a month to month, sometimes it's a raffle, and those are legitimate experiences sometimes. But they're always going to have some type of eligibility, some type of a deadline, some type of rules. And if it's a free-for-all, not a good sign. Some red flags you can look out for if you get a random email, you won $5,000 and you didn't apply for anything, don't click on that. Any application that's requesting sensitive information on the front end of the application, like your social security number, your routing number, your date of birth, and your mother's maiden name, and all of those types of things, a scholarship isn't going to ask for that unless it's them trying to pay you out and it's later down the line. But if in your application they're asking for all of these things, please proceed with caution. Pressure to act immediately. That's a very common strategy of a cyber criminal to keep you from being thorough and reading all of the information and reading the fine print. They'll put a tagline on it like closing now, act today, or something like that. And then you panic and you click on everything and you didn't read the fine print. So don't let them get the best of you. Slow down, take your time. There's no opportunity that's worth that. And then the last one I've fallen for myself is unofficial email addresses, poor grammar. So if you get an email and the name is correct, but the email address is XYZWK 24/7, whatever, it's probably not legitimate. So just pay attention to all of it. Just stay super vigilant, ask questions, do your research. You can even look up X scholarship plus scam or something and find some information maybe. So just be very careful. Um, there are a lot of bad people out there in the world. Okay, so why are we even talking about this in middle school? This is really like the heart of the presentation today. Um, Firstly, middle school is where your habits start to develop. When you're going through your adolescence, you're really becoming your own person, you're learning about yourself, you're gaining some independence, you're learning about your interests, and this is the time when your confidence starts to develop and you can set the groundwork for how you're going to move throughout the world later on in your life. Um, so the grades that you earn, the activities you try, and the skills that you're building, they all contribute to future opportunities. Um, this is also a time of curiosity, asking a lot of questions, learning a lot about the world as a whole, about themselves. Um, I like to tell students that your curiosity is your superpower and it's skill. The smartest people on the planet are the ones that always ask why and are always trying to get to the bottom of it. So that's really important to foster in students this age. Why do you like that thing? What do you want to do next? Just asking the questions and taking things as far as they can. Just finding out what excites you. We always, the saying that my parents always told me growing up is if you love your job, you never work a day in your life. And of course, everybody wants that for their kids. They want them to find something that fulfills them, and this is the time to start doing that. It's also important to start tracking achievements and your volunteer work, even just like making a list of things. It's easier for it to get lost, and it gets them in the habit of keeping track of all of that stuff because it's going to come in handy later down the line. Um, so key thing being here is that you don't need to be perfect. You just need to be trying and building your foundation, and then you should be good. So, our parents that are here this evening, what can we do to support our students during this adolescent phase? Maybe we have grumpy teenagers in our house, grumpy preteens. They're like, Mom, why am I applying for scholarships? I'm 12. But little do they know that you're actually helping them so much for 5 years from then. Um, so, what can we do to help our kids? So, firstly, I think it's all about balance. Luckily, because we are so far out from college and things like that, there's not a ton of pressure on the outcome. It's really about the journey, about the application, about the learning process. So you can encourage them to ask questions, enjoy the process as much as you can, and learn from it without being too overwhelmed about what the results are. Of course, best case scenario is always that you win a scholarship, but that's not always the most important thing, especially for this age group. The other thing, like I said, tracking activities and achievements. You want them to have an idea of what's going on when they're making their resume later down the line, when they're applying to colleges, when they're maybe some schools you have to apply for a high school, things like that. Time management. This is also a good time to learn what kind of learner you are. Maybe you're a person that needs an Excel sheet with color-coded links and dates and reminders. Maybe you need a physical planner. Maybe you're a crazy person like me and you have sticky notes all over the place and whiteboards in every corner of your house. Whatever works for you, but this is the time that you're figuring out what does work for you, trial and error, without the added pressure of the stakes being super high because you find out about college tomorrow. You guys are way out from that, so you have a lot of time to master these skills before you get to that point. I think it's also important to help students learn about how to avoid burnout at this stage in life. The academic environment is increasingly competitive, so much so that students are, they go to school 8 hours a day. They have athletics, extracurriculars after school. Sometimes they've got part-time jobs. They've got all these homework for these AP classes, and it can be really easy to get wrapped up in it and not take the time to rest and to take care of yourself. So I think this is also a good opportunity to teach students how to take care of ourselves and how to slow down because that's also crucial to success. So something I like to mention as well. And also helping students look for opportunities, but allowing them to take the lead. Them having ownership over their own journey builds confidence, and it really makes a big difference for how they're gonna move throughout the world in high school and college. And like I said, because this is lower stakes at this point in time, you can celebrate the effort and not just the results. So the fact that you went through the process, you took the time out of your day to start thinking about these things now deserves celebration and recognition. And I think that's a great way to help motivate students as well. Alrighty, so a million different things on this slide about exploration. So the point being that the goal is not to do every single thing, but to try whatever calls to you. So let's say that a student, I'll use myself when I was 12 as an example. I thought I was going to be a marine biologist. I loved science. I love marine biology. I grew up by the beach. That's what I wanted to do. But I also was a theater kid. I was in musicals. I did tech after school. I was really good at Spanish. I played the French horn. I was had a little bit in all these different areas, and then I was able to narrow it down the order that I got. But because I had the option to spend that time exploring by the time I got to high school and then college, my choices were a lot more narrow and it was easier for me to follow a path. So the more that students can explore during this time period, the better it's going to be for them when they get to high school and they can just pour everything into one or two activities. Um, I read a lot of applications for our high school department, and advice that I give to high school students all the time is that it is always better quality over quantity. I would rather read a resume or an application where a student has one or two things that they really love and they pour all their energy into it. They take it as far as they can. They take all the leadership roles that they can in one or two clubs rather than being in 50 different clubs and not really doing anything in any of them because there's too many to focus on and not having a lot of direction. And that'll help them pick a major. It'll help just with a lot of things. So now is the time to figure out what you like. And you don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to start somewhere. So I encourage all the students on this call today to, if you have an interest, if something's calling to you, just give it a try. The worst that can happen is you try something else tomorrow, and ask questions. So. Alrighty, so this is probably the meat of what a lot of people are here for, what a scholarship committee is looking for. Like I said, it's about passion and interest over time. So being dedicated to something enough that you're spending your free time, you're spending your energy, you're spending your emotional labor on that thing. That says a lot about determination, about hard work, about taking initiative. So not just being a member of a million things, but making a change in one thing that you care about, making an impact on others, contributing to your community, being an active member of society. Um, and that's going to come through with how authentic it is. So it's usually, I won't say usually, it almost always is obvious when a student is writing an essay or completing an application for something that they don't really care too much about. Like, just because you're super good at math does not mean that you need to be a mathematician if it's not something that calls to you. So I encourage students to always apply for programs that make sense for what they already like to do, because then it's that much easier to write about it or to apply for it because you're talking about something that you love. It's way easier to talk about your friends that you love and your family that you love than a stranger that you kind of know, but not really. And that comes through in your essay. You can tell when a student really has put their heart and soul into it, and when it's kind of like, that's something I kind of like to do, but it's not my thing. So yeah, don't just try to check a box. Really tie your experiences, your real life experiences to your academics. It needs to be a balance of both. I'm talking about essays specifically. Having an essay that just lists off all the things on your resume, all your extracurriculars, bullet point list, you know, or a paragraph version of what's on your resume, that's not going to cut it. Your essay, or maybe it's a visual component, depending on the program that you're applying for. That is your chance to show us who you are as a person outside of your transcript, outside of your academics, outside of your extracurriculars. Who are you? And how does what you spend your time doing relate to who you are as a person and what you care about? Because, like they say, how you spend your time is how you live your life. So I think that it's important to take advantage of that opportunity. And show some personality. Tie the two things together, your academics, your extracurriculars, and your life story and where you're coming from. Alrighty. So, cool thing about young scholars is not only that you guys are super wicked smart and that you are highly motivated and you're taking the time to be here on a Tuesday evening and learn about scholarships way earlier than a lot of people ever would start to think about it. But our scholarships are geared towards a lot more than just grades. They are carefully designed to celebrate creativity, problem solving, storytelling, leadership, innovation, all kinds of things. It's about how our students contribute to society by being who they are. That's kind of the overarching theme of all of our opportunities. So if you're looking at applying, here's just some quick facts that you might want to know. Our Young Scholars members are all eligible to apply for our programs, which are grades 6, 7, 8, and 9. All of the programs are going to require some sort of an essay or a creative component, whether that be, I'll get to that in a minute, but we have an art scholarship. You have to submit a video for that, things like that. So it's either going to be one or the other, and then we might ask for a little description if it's a creative component. An educator letter of recommendation, and a headshot. So the letter of recommendation, let me correct myself. It doesn't need to be from an educator, but it needs to be from an adult in your life who is not related to you that can speak on behalf of your academic merit as well as who you are as a person. So that can be maybe your troop leader, maybe someone from a leader at your church if you're really involved at your church. Maybe if you have a part-time job, maybe it's the family that you babysit for. It could be something like that. It can also be a teacher, of course, or a principal or a guidance counselor or your soccer coach. Lots of different things that you can do, but always ask for a letter of recommendation from an adult, a trusted adult that knows you well. You don't want to ask somebody that you've never really talked to because they're not going to have a lot to say. It's important that you have a personal relationship with the person that you're asking for a letter of recommendation. And then a color headshot so that we can put you on our website if you win, which is really cool. Applying is really easy. So you'll apply through the parent dashboard on the Young Scholars website. So you'll just log in like normal. On your dashboard, there'll be a scholarships button. You'll click that. It'll pull you through to SurveyMonkey Apply, which is our third-party site where we host all of our scholarships. And it's really intuitive from there. It's just go step by step, hit submit. It's that easy. And if you have any problems, you can always email us and we'll get back to you right away. Like I said, our awards support a lot more than just college funds. It's activities, it's summer programs, STEM projects, athletics, extracurriculars, variety of things. Um, if you are one of our scholarship winners, the way that we do payments is we issue the payments directly to your parent or your guardian. And they will fill out a W-9 form and we will write a check and we will mail it to your house directed or made out to your parent in your mailbox. That's how that goes. And then these are the programs that we have open right now. So we have the talent showcase, which is we have a prompt, and then we challenge students to answer that prompt using their talent, whatever their art is. So you can do a video, you can do a dance, you can sing, you can write a poem. There's all kinds of things that you can submit for that. And that one's looking for creativity, obviously. We have the STEM Young Inventors Award, which I think is super cool. This one challenges students to solve a global problem with an invention. You don't have to have like a working prototype or anything like that, but make a model out of a cardboard box or draw a diagram or if you're really into computers, maybe make a rendering or something of your idea, then you explain how it works and what problem it's going to solve. So this one's about creative thinking, ingenuity, STEM, all of those things. That one closes on April 15th, so it's coming up. Young Leaders in Action. This one is geared towards students who are really involved in their communities. Maybe if you're a Girl Scout and you spend every weekend volunteering, this is probably a good one for you to apply to. The Summer Program Scholarship. Maybe oh, I really, really want to go to the Quiz Bowl, but it's 3 hours away, and we have to get a hotel room, and we have to pay a registration fee, and I don't know if that's feasible for my family. This is a great one for you to apply to support those things over the summer that enrich your life and your academic journey. That's the point of those. The athletic scholarship, a lot of students, of course, spend a lot of time doing travel sports, and that stuff can get really, really expensive. cheer, softball tournaments, travel soccer. If you need gear for football season, that can get really expensive. This is a good one to assist students with that. Um, that one closes November 10th. The Environmentalism Award is asking our students what they're doing in their communities to help Mother Earth, how they're spreading awareness, how they're participating in environmental stewardship. And then the last one, which probably is my favorite, is the Show Us Your Superpower Scholarship. This scholarship is about how our individual traits and our uniqueness can be our superpower, and how a student uses their superpower, what makes them special, what makes them strong, to change the world around them. So maybe you're super introverted, you're very quiet, but it means that you're a really great listener. So, how can you apply those unique things about you to your life and tell us about how your superpower is saving and changing the world? So, this one has a lot of creativity involved in it. Um, you can be as creative as you want with the way that you're writing these. I love when I read an essay that's not just cut and dry, that has a little bit of a creative twist to it. Keep it professional, follow the prompt. If there's a word count, follow it. If, check your grammar, check your spelling, all of this like grammatical things. That's a silly reason to not win a scholarship. But, you know, put a little bit of yourself into it. Put some flair in there. I love reading things like that. Um, yeah. So if you ever have any questions about any of these programs, what the requirements are, how to work the website, anything like that, you can always shoot us an email. Be happy to help. So now I got some time to answer any questions. I don't see any in the Q&A right now, but if anything has come up, please feel free to drop it. I'll give us just a couple minutes to see if anybody has anything on their mind. Anything at all? All right. Well, it doesn't look like we have any questions coming through. But if anything does come up, you can email the Young Scholars inbox, or you can also email me directly, alexis.anderson@nshss.org, if you have a specific question about a scholarship, general advice about scholarships, whatever the case may be. I'm always here as a resource for you. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate your time, and everybody have a great rest of your evening. Thank you.